Sorry.
I call our meeting to order. Welcome to meeting number 58 of the Standing Committee on Veterans Affairs.
Order 1082 and the motion adopted on Monday, October 3rd, 2022, the committee is resuming its study on the experience of women veterans.
Today's meeting is taking place in hybrid format pursuant to the order adopted by the House on Thursday, 23rd June 2022. MPs and witnesses are therefore with us in person and by Zoom. As for interpretation, I'd like to remind you that you can choose the English, the floor, or the French. I would also like to remind you that all observations, all interventions must be addressed to the chair. We have run the connection tests to good advantage, and I have a trauma warning with regard to this study. Before we open the floor to our witnesses, I would like to share this trigger warning with you. We will be discussing issues related to mental health. This may be a trigger for people here with us, for people watching us from a distance, for even members of the staff who may have lived similar experiences. If you feel overwhelmed or feel you would like help, please speak to the clerk, who is right here to my left.
Before we welcome our witnesses, I would like to provide this trigger warning. We may be discussing experiences related to general health and mental health. This may triggering to viewers, members, or staff with similar experiences. If you feel distressed or need help, please advise the clerk. Je voudrais maintenant...
I would like to welcome our witnesses. A quick question, Chair, if I may. We know that we will be holding a vote in the House at 8:30 this evening. I'm not sure if that's been confirmed yet, but how would you like to go about it if it goes forward? Normally, as soon as the bell rings, I will be asking members' consent if they would like to continue our discussions for a few minutes, or if they would like to interrupt the proceedings right away. Thank you. Back to our witnesses then. First, I would like to warmly thank you, ladies, for being here with us. Our committee will last for 2 hours, and I would like you to know that after the first hour, we will take a 5-minute break. If you feel that I need to stop at any point, please let me know.
I would like to say thank you for your service also. So now, our witnesses for today are, as an individual, we have Carly Arkell, Major Retired, Lisa Nilsson, Petty Officer, 2nd Class, retired by video conference, Nadine Schultz Nielsen, Leading Seaman, retired, and Captain Retired Louise Sioux. Et nous avons de Mal.
We also have from Ma Langue au Chat Cat Café, Lisa Sear, Corporal Retired and owner.
5 minutes.
You will each have 5 minutes.
And I will advise you if you have 1 minute left or we have to go to someone else. So let's start with Carly Arkell, Major Retired, for 5 minutes. Please go ahead.
I want to first start by thanking the chair and the committee for having this opportunity to speak. As I was introduced, my name is Carly Arkell. I'm a retired major. I need to apologize. I don't have a prepared statement in advance. I have a few challenges with writing and using a computer, so I'll provide a little more information about that coming. But just to give a little background who I am, I joined the Canadian Armed Forces and the Naval Reserve at HMCS Tecumseh in Calgary when I was 17, and served with the Naval Reserve for 2 years prior to switching to the regular force and becoming an aerospace engineering officer. And served there for just over 20 years before being released in January of 2021. So to understand what the experiences of a veteran, a woman veteran, it's important to understand where we came from and how we got here. So to give some context, because context is vital, throughout my career, I had some health challenges, but nothing major, sprained ankle here, a minor issue there. Unfortunately, when I was 2016, I had a sports injury while doing unit fitness training. We were doing burpees and I slipped. And unfortunately, I had some injuries but didn't realize the extent of them because I didn't present with the typical symptoms, particularly stiffness. In the subsequent years, my health deteriorated, and because things didn't fit the standard, typical template, I was dismissed and told that it was all in my head. I wasn't trying. I was lazy. I was out of shape. I was not out of shape. I am out of shape now. I don't know why things changed and how I was treated, but the change point happened in 2016, which was a year after I reported being sexually assaulted. And I'd always been taken seriously prior to that, but after that, everything was blamed on my mental health. Admittedly, my mental health did deteriorate in those years following the sports injury, in large part because of the experience I had dealing with the healthcare system in the military. That's led to a lot of distrust of healthcare providers. And now, because of the complexity of my condition, I have a lot of difficulty accessing care because I'm told I'm too complex. To give some context with that, 6 months prior to my release, I was diagnosed with a rare genetic disorder. I had no idea I had it and never would have known if I hadn't had an injury. I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to serve because had we known about it, I never would have been able to join. And I was fine as long as I was fit and healthy and basically held together by my muscles. The struggle I have now is that I can't access care. I have an amazing family doctor, and she's willing to take me on as a complex patient. However, I have a lot of issues, and because I don't have coverage in a lot of things from Veterans Affairs, and it's expensive, and sometimes I just can't even get accepted into clinics. I've been turned down numerous times and told I was too complex. As I mentioned, my mental health did deteriorate with that. While I was in the service, I was unknowingly diagnosed with an anxiety disorder and asked to be reassessed. And when I was told I had adjustment disorder, which I thought was a load of something. And there's nothing else I could do about it. Once I was released, my Veterans Affairs case manager referred me to the OSI clinic where I was assessed and diagnosed with PTSD, dating back to 2008, so halfway through my career. So I held myself together quite literally with my muscles and held my mental health together by being excessively busy. So to wrap it up, this has impacted every aspect of my life. From, as many of you have noticed prior to the committee starting, I have a few friends here who are coming to support me and the other panel members, other witnesses, and I require a lot of help. I don't get out of the house, not because I don't want to, but because I just struggle to. I have to adapt and overcome because I have no other choice. I have 2 children, and they need me. But I have the ability to get through the day, or be a good mom, or fight the system, and I can't do all of it at once. So, thank you.
Much, Major Harkle, and it's 5 minutes, but we are flexible. And now I'd like to invite on Zoom Lisa Nilsson, Petty Officer, 2nd Class, retired. Please open your mic and start.
Good afternoon, Chair and rest of the committee, or should I say good evening? Time zones are wonderful, aren't they? I would really like to appreciate and say thank you for allowing me to speak today. I have to admit, this is the first time I've ever publicly spoken about the incidents that I endured, and what my experiences in the CAF were like as a female, and then following my experiences with VAC. So I will admit that I am terrified here, sitting here, because my story is quite intense. And although I've been medically retired for 3 years this December, my story, I'm still institutionalized to the point of extreme fear. And I still have all those feelings associated with losing my reputation, having to rebuild it, then having it destroyed again, and then having to rebuild it, rinse, wash, and repeat. How do I summarize a 20-year career, over a 20-year career in under 5 minutes or around 800 words that is succinct, concise, and yet hitting all the points that I wish to make and not to sound like I'm complaining? How do I convey to you the pain that I feel every day from an organization and a country that I serve since I was 17 years old? How do I tell you what it was like to be repeatedly sexually assaulted, including having my virginity taken from me against my will, abused, harassed, withstood misogyny, overt and covert sexism, gaslit, and more? How can I convey what it feels like to have your MST weaponized against you, to be mistreat you, and because of it, to be denied and brushed off treatment both medically and psychologically? How do I tell you what it's like to be in the middle of the ocean with no land in sight for days, or in the Gulf of Oman off the coast of Panama, or even 12 nautical miles off the coast of Vancouver Island? And then I would be told that if there was a quote unquote accident, no one would hear my screams, or sailing with people that would grab my body, manipulate me, brainwash me, use me as a sex toy. And all of this was because I reported in 2001. What can I tell you and how it feels to have women contact you 20 years later and say that they have severe trauma from the way that I was treated, and that my name was used to scare and intimidate other women into reporting? I wish I could convey to you what it's like to be completely terrified of the people around you and only have 300 feet to sleep, to hide, to work, to socialize, to work out. I experienced what no woman, female, or person should ever. And the best recourse that I had was to shut up and take it. And then be like a duck. Let it roll off your back. Go to the gym, work out, meditate, do yoga, stretch, work hard. Be alert, smile, but not too much. Otherwise, people will think you are flirting. Just laugh it off. Be feminine, but not too much. One would argue, and whatever you do, do not, under any circumstances, speak up, show any weakness nor pain. One can argue that the above statements are everywhere in every aspect of society, but it's just different in the CAF. And it's very hard to articulate how it is different, but it's just different. And once again, it's different in the Navy. I learned these lessons the hard way over around 15 years. I've been hurt multiple times. So besides having a very healthy dose of dark humor, I have a cervical spine injury, which includes a titanium ball at my ball and socket joint at C6 and C7 after it was disregarded as stress and a kink. I have a lumbar spine injury that has resulted in 3 successive surgeries, ending with 2 rods and 8 screws. And both of these injuries were not taken seriously by the CAF medical system or the Vancouver Island Health Authority. I did not get appropriate treatment on my cervical spine until I returned back to my unit, as I was posted in the United States at the time. And once again, my lumbar spine injury wasn't taken seriously until a chiropractor had sent a note to the base hospital. I sailed with these injuries, moving on a steel platform, traversing ladders, and being threatened with being charged with malingering. And I quote, "If you were that hurt, you wouldn't be sailing with us." I had a severely herniated disc. Well, I'll tell you, that wasn't much fun. And actually, as of late, I've been referred back to my neurosurgeon as I've got impacts from an accident that I had in 2019, as well as in April, I hurt my cervical spine again, and I'm still awaiting imaging for that. I have been told I have the spine of a 90-year-old. I am just 40. The only thing that has saved my life is the fact that I was very fit and that I have a great deal of muscle that has protected me and saved my life. My ability to walk is because I had the muscle mass. My MST reporting and what happened afterwards was completely weaponized against me. My physical injuries, including concussions, my spinal injuries, knee injuries, shoulder injuries, were all brushed off as mental health condition of me being dramatic. It has taken other medical professionals, specifically male professionals, standing up for me to get me treatment. I can't even begin to describe what it was for me while I was pregnant. At the time, we had to find a doctor on the economy because they didn't offer any postnatal or prenatal care. When I hurt my neck and I had the emergency surgery on my neck, I didn't realize I was pregnant. I found that out about 2 months after my neck surgery and was told that there was significant issues with the fetus and that it was the likelihood of having a full-term baby was next to zero. I had to make a painful decision to agree to have a medical abortion at 22 weeks, and I had to go to work the next day. And I was unable to say anything. Embrace the suck, as we like to call it. Then I got pregnant with my son. On my 3rd trimester, I was only supposed to be working half days, but I was still working 12-hour days. So I guess in a way that is a half day. I was denied maternity and parental leave because I was posted in the States, but I was afforded the opportunity to have 6 weeks of convalescent leave. There was a saying as I was going through, if the military wanted you to have a family, they would have issued you one. And I heard this all throughout my career. I very much could continue, but I'm assuming I'm getting close to overtime at this point. But I do need to touch on my experiences with the Veterans Affairs. And in my experience, they are pure and simple an insurance company. We have to provide every little bit of documentation to prove that we are actually injured. And that is a challenge in itself due to the ongoing doctor shortages, especially where I am, but I'm sure that it's endemic across the country. If there is no record of you seeking medical treatment while in service, 9 times out of 10, a claim will be denied, and therefore the lengthy appeal process begins. There's a stigma within the military is that if you're hurt, you don't say anything, you just soldier on and keep going. In the veterans community, we have a joke that VAC operates under the following premise, the 3 Ds, deny, delay, and die. Deny claim, delay the appeal, and hope the veteran dies or gives up fighting. And this has been evidenced recently. I personally have been denied VIP three times as I am not frail enough. Excuse me. I have been told that my husband and kids are more than capable of doing the housework or yard work. I am 104% disabled according to Veterans Affairs, and I cannot get help. I have a complaint in with the Office of the Veterans Ombudsman for unfair treatment, and that itself has been over 18 months with zero resolution to date. Additionally, there seems to be 2 different standards. There is one for officers, one for NCMs. I don't know how many times I have personally been told rank has its privilege, element has its privilege, number and types of deployments has its privilege, and based on how it was explained to me by the OVO in regards to my VIP complaint, that gender as well has its privilege. And additionally, not all case managers are treated nor trained equally. I would like to thank you again for allowing me to speak, for giving me my voice back. I really wish I could expand a little bit more, but I have submitted another statement with what I've been through and how I was treated, because I cannot succinctly or adequately summarize a career marred by so much trauma, both by the hands of my peers, the system, and the conduct of my duties. I have a number of recommendations that could be implemented or at least very least looked into, but I can discuss that with further detail when there is more time. Thank you very kindly.
Thank you very much. And I think that members of the committee can understand, even though we go over the 5 minutes, but it was really courageous opening statement from you. And Thank you. Thank you for telling us that. And now let's go to Nadine Schultz Nielsen, leading Semen retired. Please, you have around 5 minutes for your opening statement.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Chair. Thank you for inviting me to tell you about my experience. I feel incredibly privileged to be here. After 12 years of service, I was medically released in 2013 with a diagnosis of adjustment disorder with depressed moods and anxiety. I wasn't coping well with the death of Corporal Marie-France Comeau. We worked together as flight attendants at 437 Squadron in Trenton, and after years of sexual harassment and assaults while serving in the Navy, I had finally come to a career-ending realization. If you can't trust the wing commander, who can you trust? I no longer felt safe in uniform, and I could no longer function in the uniform. Back in 2013, there were no supports for MST. The term military sexual trauma didn't exist yet within VAC. When I approached my local OSI for support, I was told that they would have to ask the men if they were okay with me joining because it might be uncomfortable for them since my experience was so different. I found support online, and through peer support, I learned how to support myself as best I could from home. MST comes with invisible pain. It doesn't show up on scans or the tests that VAC used to determine eligibility for benefits. So for years, I was being denied benefits because my doctors didn't believe me that I was as bad as I was saying I was. I was told that my pain was not real because I was not begging for narcotics. And my mental health wasn't that bad because I showered before my doctor appointments. I didn't fit into their box. I desperately needed help inside my home, but I couldn't get VIP for mental health only. I applied anyway and was told such things as outdoors is my husband's area, so I will only be supported for housekeeping. My husband has an autoimmune disorder and is often bedridden for weeks hold on.
Take your
He's
time.
bedridden for weeks. Another time I wouldn't be supported because getting up and cleaning my house every day should give me a sense of purpose. My mental health has hindered my ability to apply for benefits. I'm not able to appeal benefit decisions within a certain amount of time frame. Over the past 10 years, sorry, I've lost my spot.
Take your time. No rush.
Over the last 10 years, I've deteriorated to the point where I struggle to do anything paperwork related, including opening mail. Just confirming my appearance to speak here took 2 days and a migraine to fill one piece of paper to come here. My statement was also late to be translated. I struggle with deadlines. I don't understand it. I used to be so reliable, but now my taxes are always done late. My bills are rarely paid on time. I've heard that there's supports out there for me, but I feel stuck and I don't know how to ask for help. My children were born in 2011 and 2013. Every day of their lives has been affected by my mental health. First, it was the rage that came with my PTSD that I was diagnosed with in 2014. Now it's the depression. I worry about my children a lot. Even though I'm home, I'm never there. I do my best, but I don't know how to explain it to them. My doctors can't even explain it to me. In 2016, I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder after another devastating denial by VAC. I haven't been the same. I have no fight left in me. I go through periods where I can't get out of bed for weeks. If I get my children to school on time, my daily goal has been reached. In 2020, I finally got VIP approved, but it's not enough. Just last week, I asked for a review of my VIP and my mental health. I received an approximate wait of 4 months for paperwork. I'm not sure if that's good or bad. It doesn't matter to me. I've got supports in place, so I'll see what comes of it. Chair, I'm here today because I don't want anyone else to feel the way I have felt. I can't understand why an organization that was supposed to take care of me and support me would cause me so much mental trauma. I've had to take breaks from VAC. I burn out, I deteriorate, and I end up in crisis from what has felt like a constant stream of negative interactions. Then, after a few months or years, I try again because I understand that I can't do this on my own. VAC is an organization designed by men for men. But I know that there are out there who are working to make it better. I know there's been a gender-based analysis report that has yet been released to my knowledge. And your committee proves to me that people see that there has been serious issues, and I'm hoping that there are more positive changes to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and we hope so too, members of the committee. There will be some change, positive change. Thank you. Et là, I'd like to invite the Corporal retired Louise Sioux. Is that right? For 5 minutes, please.
They're all laughing. They're laughing at the back. Mr. Chair and members of the committee, good evening. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to come before you today. My name is Louise Sioux, and I was a regular force logistics officer who joined the Canadian Forces in 1975, served 35 years, and retired as a naval captain in 2010. I was also a married service spouse and mother. I have witnessed firsthand how generations of women have been treated in the Canadian Forces. I have chosen to testify today as I know how important committees such as yours can be as a catalyst for change. I'd like to start my testimony by challenging the premise that the opening of all combat classifications and occupations to women in 1989 was the watershed moment for change for women in the Canadian Forces. It was not. It was the Royal Commission on the Status of Women in the early 1970s that made the most significant change for women when it opened up the opportunity for them to have a career in the Canadian Forces. Up until that point, the majority of women who enrolled in the Canadian Forces were unlikely to have a career. The average rank was private, and the average time in the military was 18 months. And the technical and other well-paid trades were not open to them. All that changed as a result of several key recommendations that flowed from the Commission report. It recommended that women be allowed to stay in the military if they got married or had children, and it recommended that many of the classifications and occupations previously closed to them be opened. This fundamentally broke down two key barriers to the success of women in the military. They could now have a career, and they could now demonstrate their value to the military as operational support trades and classifications were now open to them. They now had access to positions right across the CF, including in support of operations. It was then only a matter of time before other barriers started falling as the value of their contributions became more widely recognized. I would be remiss at this point if I did not note that the Commission report also recommended that women be finally allowed to join the RCMP. The next position that I'd like to dispel is the notion tabled by Lieutenant General Bourgon to this committee that in relation to women in the CF, that the policy had been one of assimilation vice the aspirational goal of inclusion as they are fostering today. Referring to what happened in the past as assimilation is concerning to me, in that it was not the reality I observed. As someone who enrolled in 1975, I can state that overall the military, forced into this change in the 1970s, did so begrudgingly and with an unwillingness to accommodate for women, and that they maintained this posture for as long as they possibly could. They proactively dismissed, mistreated, humiliated, and even hurt us. Both policy and culturally based barriers set conditions for abuse, harassment, physical, mental, and sexual, and negated our voice. They both specified and implied that women could be discounted and abused without recourse. a climate social scientist now described as otherism. The CF needs to account for the conditions of service that women endured in the past and the resulting health and well-being effects. As well, VAC needs to recognize the impact of this history in their adjudication process of disability claims and in the availability of programs and services to meet the needs of all women veterans. On a more personal note, I was the first woman in every position I held, and I knew how important it was for those who would come after me that I do well. My last command was of an organization of 5,000 people, and which included the responsibility for all the supply and ammunition depots of the Canadian Forces, and provided the strategic level logistic support to the war in Afghanistan. As well, during the years I served, I was not silent regarding the conditions of service for women. I consistently challenged the status quo, fought for better equipment for women, and better opportunities in terms of service. As I saw the barriers of progress to the progress of women, I challenged them. I volunteered to serve on merit boards, and when I saw women being mistreated, I spoke up. I successfully redressed the maternity leave policy. I wore my own version of a maternity uniform when the military offered me no uniform option. I maintained an informal network of hundreds of service women from across the Canadian Forces that I would pass on information regarding ongoing issues such as equipment, uniform, maternity benefits, etc. I fended off sexual aggressions and suffered many rebukes for my activism, and I always felt like I was on my own in these fights. You also need to know that serving women pick their battles, and they cannot fight them all, as it has always weighed against the potential damage to their careers, as we have heard about today. In closing, I believe that the CF owes the women who served a full and open accounting for how they were treated in the past, literally generation by generation, and up until the recent initiatives, so that their disability claims being submitted to VAC are better supported. I also believe that VAC has been negligent in their support to women, and they need to significantly address their shortfalls, as I fundamentally believe that the strides being made today by the CF for women today are not being matched by VAC. I'm also concerned that you've heard little from the Canadian Forces to assure you that women in the reserves are receiving the same transition and mental health care when needed as their regular force counterparts. Finally, women should not be fighting these battles alone. I implore you to support them and be the agent of change of this generation that the Royal Commission on the Status of Women was in the early 1970s. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to responding to your questions.
Thank you so much, Captain Sue, instead of Captain Sue. And now let's go to Caporal retired city owner from Malangosha Cat Cafe, Madame Lisa Cyr. You have 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for inviting me to be here with you today. I entered the Canadian Forces in 2007. I was 31. I had a BA from university, and I was offered an officer position. But I wanted to know what it was to be a basic private at the base. I entered the forces then. To me, it was a matter of serving my country and serving abroad. Also, I entered because of the values, respect, honesty, and others. But I quickly learned that the reality was somewhat different. My career began with an incident of harassment at the very outset, an incident with a male colleague in which honesty and respect did not play much of a part. Unfortunately, I had to bear the consequences. It was clear that honesty and respect were values for me. So I ensured that this 19-year-old young person, addressed by the armed forces, the situation be addressed, and he basically went into a power trip that lasted 4 years. Anyway, I could get into the details. I could tell you later. A little time after, someone basically came right up to me and said, right up to my nose, if you want your career to go well, you'd better leave him alone, his family too. And I said, look, you can't let things just slip by like that. That's how my career began in 2007, 2008, 2009. Harassment ongoing. What are you doing? What are you doing in the Canadian Armed Forces? Women shouldn't be here. You're 31. What are you doing here? You're far too old in any case. You've no place here. That sort of thing was really constant. Psychological harassment, sexual as well. Shut up or you won't survive. I've heard that. During a field exercise, do you want us to make sure you stay here and you don't come back? That sort of thing. Go easy. You'd better not talk. Otherwise, it's going to be even worse. The whole group will be on you. I think that other witnesses have testified to such things or may testify in future. These are the sorts of things that I have experienced. Sexual harassment, it's really a powerful weapon. You may think you're strong. You take it, little bits, right, left, and center. There comes a point, though, when you no longer trust your chain of command. You no longer trust the institution. To me, the Canadian Armed Forces, you see, was glorious. It was the most glorious institution. It's what I had the highest level of confidence in. It was there to defend our very country. But when the members of your own group, the people who are there to defend your own country with you, start destroying you, it's really bad. My chain of command destroyed me in so many ways from all angles, telling me that it was all in my head, prevented me from going back to my family at one point because my doctor, my psychologist said, you should go and spend some time at home because when you're on sick leave, you can't go away for more than 500 kilometers. And my family was in New Brunswick. That's 300 kilometers, so I couldn't go. I was asked to write up a memo to receive authorization, and I was told, no, refused. Because, there's a mandated program here for there. And, that sort of program is used for harassment, used in a number of programs. But, these approaches aren't really respected. They're there. You can write a memo, but a lot of people don't respect the system that's supposed to help. Plus, you're told to shut up because you're a corporal, because you're a woman, because you're too old, because you can be pushed aside, because you're daring to stand up for yourself, and that's really not something you should be doing here in the CAF, especially not if you're a woman. You're set aside for a mission, for example. No, you see, you're super good here, but, he's just new. He just got here, doesn't know what it's about, so we'll send him off to the mission, and you can just make sure things go well back here, on the base. At some point, I was really happy. I got this email. I said, oh, great, I'm off on a mission finally. I've been assigned. And the evening before the 13 kilometers of exercise that I still had to finish, which is, a really demanding exercise, you're supposed to be resting. You're supposed to rest before that because the 13 kilometers exercise, it's super demanding. I'm telling you. I'm not going to tell you what it's about, but it's really tough. So my superior asked me to go and do some topography under the rain until 11 at night instead of being resting. And the 13 kilometers exercise starts at 6 in the morning, you see. So that next morning, I went for the 13K exercise, and during it, at 200 meters from the end, I could see the final line. I collapsed, blackout. I woke up in the hospital, and I was told when I woke up, the first thing I said, look, did I finish it? Did I get across the finish line? And I was told, I'm not so sure. You've been out for 45 minutes. Out cold. And, they don't talk about that in the forces. This is the sort of thing that's hidden. You just let things sort of dissipate. So what was said about me was, she just was 200 meters from the end, and she just gave up, useless. Rather than explaining what goes on, you just kind of suggest things and just leave it at that, so that people who are harmed or something wrong happens, they're the ones who bear the weight of it. And I'm sorry, I was at the hospital for 3 days then, getting back to that, and the doctor gave me a medical sheet saying that I needed 2 weeks off to rest at home. When I got to the medical specialists within the Army as well, and this is a big problem as well, the military system doesn't respect the civil system. We're constantly having to fight to be heard. So when I got to the Army doctor with my sheet, and I was told, you want more vacation? You just spent a week in the hospital. And I said, hey, whoa, look what's written here. Look what the doctor has written here, explaining what I just went through and what he wants. And he said, okay, you get a day off. It's Friday. The weekend, good. And I said, sure, believe me, when I come in Monday, I'm not going to be talking to you. So you've got to struggle constantly. You have to fight for yourself. I'm speaking as a woman, of course. I have colleagues who are men who have to fight for themselves as well. But it's like if you're a woman, it's worse. It seems when you're coming from a civil doctor, I mean, that's a proper doctor and is giving you a sheet of paper telling you what you need to do. You shouldn't have to come back on the base and fight the doctor. They should say, yes, good, this is it, that's your situation, let's work with it. Harassment, same thing. So, of course, you get harassed, as I just explained. You're lazy, you want more time off. You don't even have time to explain what happened. They don't look at the sheet, and you're just tossed right, left, and center. Now, I was once told I would be promoted to a higher officer position. Not at all. It was just harassment. They were just taunting me. I was training on the base, and I had a special distinction exercise, just 20 minutes, and I came in, and I was told, hey, it took you 23 minutes. But, I did it, and it was 20 minutes. I know it was 20 minutes. I was with someone we timed. So it's the sort of harassment that's ongoing. At one point, I just, at one point said, look, I'm going to kill someone. I reached the point where I was writing a letter like others have committed suicide. If I do so, then at least I'm going to make sure the media knows why I did it. We're going to hear what goes on here, what the gaps are in this system. Today, 2 years before I was released, from 2017 to 2019, I received a diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder. And I remember breaking down crying. I said, I haven't been out on a mission. I'm not post-traumatic. And it was explained to me that basically I'd been in a war on the base. I was unable to accept this. From 2017 to 2019, I did not leave my home. They spent a year calling me at home nonstop. And this was the time when, at one point they were refusing to let me go back home. To be sure that I wasn't going to my family, they would call morning and night to make sure that I was there at home and I hadn't gone those 3,000 kilometers away from the base because I was only allowed the 500 kilometers away. So, eventually you start shutting down. I didn't even dare go walk around in my own yard anymore. What saves my life on a day-to-day basis now, daily, is having bought my restaurant with its cats. And once again, I realize I'm speaking a long time, but having bought that cafe led to more problems with Veterans Affairs because I'm saving my own life, basically. Having a business that allows me to have something relevant to do, a peaceful place, something to do. So I leave my home. I've created a safe place to help me return to human life and go elsewhere than my home. I've had to pay money back to Manulife because they said I had an amount of money that, we're not paid. I'm not paid for my job. I'm the one who pays, basically, for that. It's my business. But that's still not settled in 2023. And, when you leave the Canadian Forces, we're told, oh, it's great, your back is great. I hope things are going to get better. In 2020, when there was this issue of my owing $27,000 to Manulife, I phoned back and said, what's this about? And learned that from 2019 to 2020, I had, for 1 year, not received 15% of salary. No one bothered calling me to say you're post-traumatic, and when you're post-traumatic, you have trouble handling paperwork. You can't really be expected to follow up on things and claim your 15% and so on. Now I've got this business and so on, but I've got other people helping with that. I keep it going, and I love to be involved because it does me good. But as I was saying, no one ever called me to say, look, Monsieur, there's something missing. You're not getting this money, and you haven't properly applied for it. So these are the sorts of things that I hope will be improved upon. Thank you for having given me the opportunity to share this with you. And thank you for giving women a place at the table. Thank you very much, Ms. Cyr. Corporal Retired Lisa Cyr, and you will have a chance to pick up on your explanations, including that of your business, during the period of questions. So we will move to the question period, dear colleagues. Normally we have 4 times 6 minutes, but if we wish to have a break, we will hear the first 2 questions and then take a break and come back with the last 2 of 6 minutes each, if that suits you. Without further ado, then, I would like
to invite the MP for Moose Jaw, Lake Centre, Lanigan, Mr. Fraser Tolmie, for 6 minutes, please.
Thank you, Chair. Something that has struck me, and I want to say thank you for your service. I know that your service career has not been easy, and your post-service has not been easy either. We've had 5 witnesses come here to speak about women's veterans, and I feel like we're just scratching the surface on your careers. And I almost feel like we're not doing you a favor of really sharing some of the experiences that you've had. I will get into some questions here, but I just want to say thank you for your courage, for coming forward, for sharing your testimonies. You have entrusted this committee with us being able to hopefully make a change, not only in Veterans Affairs, but hopefully for those that are serving and that will serve. And you've made a better place for my daughters. So I want to say thank you. A couple things that have stepped out to me in your testimony, Major Arkell, was that you were turned down by clinics. Now, we're here to speak about Veterans Affairs, but could you just quickly elaborate on that? Because I've got a few questions that I've got to ask other people, and I'd like to understand how you turned down by clinics before you even get in there. What's that?
Thank you for the opportunity to speak about this. There's been a couple, but the one that really stands out was last fall. Part of my injuries, I discovered I had hip pain, and ultimately it was determined that I had hip dysplasia, and was fortunate enough to not have arthritis. But in order to prevent that, I needed to. The only treatment was surgery. It's major orthopedic surgery where they called periacetibular osteotomy, and they were cutting my pelvis in 3 spots and rotating it and holding it together with multiple screws. Because of my, as you can see, the shoulder issues, I can't use crutches or other type of weight bearing through my arms, so I was going to need a wheelchair. But I also was going to need assistance, and rehab was going to be complicated. So last September I had surgery and was immediately referred by the hospital physiotherapist to the orthopedic to the rehabilitation center, complex orthopedic rehab program, and I was assessed by the physiatrist, and he told me that I was too complex. And yeah, I was stunned. I mental health struggled for the rest of that day. I was, if I was too complex for them, where was I going to go? What was I going to do? And the one thing I wanted to mention with this opportunity is that I said, what am I supposed to do? And he said, well, the military can treat you. I said, I'm not in the military anymore. He said, well, Veterans Affairs can treat you. Like,
Yes, so we see that the person that served is the same person. So, you know, you're going from one organization to another, and that's a common theme and thread that we've seen here. And so thank you for the. Now, P.O. Nielsen, you said a statement that was called adjustment disorder. Could you explain that to me? And I know Major Arkell had a little bit of a laugh. You said that it was, well, I won't use the terminology that's in your head.
You're asking about adjustment disorder? Yeah. Adjustment disorder is basically when there's an event and you're unable to get over it for, I think it's under 6 months. Under 6 months. Anything after that kind of becomes PTSD.
And I want that explained so that it's on the record, so that people understand what that is, because we use terminology. Being ex-military, we use a lot of acronyms, and not a lot of people understand that. So I just need for others to understand that. Interesting comment. VAC is an organization designed by men for men. I think that's a takeaway for us. How much time do I have, Chair?
1 minute and a half.
Well, you know, you like me, right? Can you can you speak to the stress that it causes you dealing with Veterans Affairs? Because we talk about PTSD and we talk about the emotional drain. I want to know what it's like to deal with an organization that treats you like you're an insurance claim when you should be treated like a veteran.
Thank you. It tears at your very core to have an organization that is supposed to treat you, and it treats you as a second-class citizen. I have gone through moments where I felt suicidal after talking to Veterans Affairs. I've actually had a time when Veterans Affairs has sent the OPP to my house because I was in crisis and I was begging for help. And I told them, dealing with you makes me not want to live anymore. And they just called the OPP and said, go get her. So it's heartbreaking. It feels like a constant betrayal.
I'm sorry. Thank you for sharing that with me. I appreciate it.
It's tough to stop those conversations, but yeah, so now, okay, I'd like to, for the next 6 minutes, I'd like to invite the MP from Mississauga-Streetville, Mrs. Richie Valdez, for 6 minutes, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you to the witnesses who have joined. I just want to say you were brave when you served, and I actually believe you're braver now, even more so to be able to share your testimony to all of us. So thank you very much for that. Last Monday, the VAC department joined us, and they mentioned that they changed their policy for MST. They accept personal statements without needing to provide corroborating evidence, and I wanted your opinion on it, and I'll start with you, Major Arkell.
I was very fortunate that I didn't apply for anything MST related until after the policy had changed. So although the initial incident leading to my PTSD wasn't related to MST, it was operational. That's a whole other thing. The fact that there was an MST component to it meant that it's actually reviewed and processed very quickly. It was the only application that's gone smoothly. And so I'm grateful for the changes they've made, but I know that it was long, hard fought. So I'm grateful.
Thank you. And Nadine Schultz-Nielsen, did you want to weigh in on that?
I have never applied for my MST through Veterans Affairs. I'm incredibly grateful that they're taking steps forward and trying to help us, but I can't personally speak to the experience because I haven't applied.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, I'll direct my questions to you, Lisa Nielsen, online. There are various programs for victims of the MST, such as sexual misconduct support, the Resource Center to peer support, to talking to mental health professionals. Could I just get your input on these services, if they've helped you at all? Have you observed any improvements over the years?
I had to self-refer to the OSI clinic. I wasn't offered any support, very much like my fellow witness. I was diagnosed with adjustment disorder as well, that I couldn't handle the change, essentially, is what it was. But I had been suffering from PTSD for over 20 years, and it was never identified or treated appropriately. I am just finally, after I self-referred, and the OSI clinic had spent almost 2 months asking back for a referral for me, got in, and it still took August, like 8 months, 9 months before I actually even got to see somebody. And then it took another 4 months, maybe 5, before I actually got my first appointment with a therapist. There was an informal peer group that did help me a little bit, but to be perfectly honest, it was what happened to me, and after I reported, it was much better for me not to say anything and just to keep my mouth shut. I hope that answers the question.
It does, thank you. Monsieur le Président, j'adresse mes...
Mr. Chair, my questions are for Lisa Cyr. I understand that you have a cafe called Ma Langue au Chat. Could you tell me a bit more what you mentioned to me about your 15 cats? Yes, I bought it to save my own health, basically, after the post-traumatic situation disorder. Because of that, I became fibromyalgic. So having this cafe helps me to move around and keep busy. The 15 cats each bear the name of a friend who committed suicide in Afghanistan. So they're honored that way. I look at the cats and say, look, you're no longer here, but I'm here. And this helped me move forward. It helps me to keep going. Having that cafe also helps me offer a safe space to veterans. It's kind of a lighthouse for me and for them, a place we can get together and just rest at. And, you know, when I'm not in a good space, they can tell. They'll come over to me. And often, you know, these cats that I'm speaking of now, they come to see me, as I said, and they're often the ones who have the names of my closest colleagues. It's just to show that these people didn't leave us for nothing, and that the mental health of veterans, of military personnel, is fragile. Like anyone's mental health, we need to pay attention. People shouldn't wind up turning to suicide. That's what I fight on a day-to-day basis. And the time you're spending hearing me, my voice, is important. It's important to me. It's important to women. It's important for all military personnel and for all veterans. It's there's no, it's like gold. There's no way to say how important it is. With committees like this, I'm sure that things will progress. I hope that things progress in the right direction. You know, I've turned 47. Every day I fight. I fight physically and I fight psychologically and mentally to stay well. These women here to my left do the same, many more. When I step into my cafe, it gives me great strength. I know they're there. I know they're still with me. It's just to ensure that I can keep walking forward, walking out of my home. If I know that I'm going to be stuck at home forever, it'll just be total blackness. I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for this cafe. And, you know, since April, we've been helping a veteran. We got a call. He was, like, on the street. He was about to commit suicide. Now he's actually taken refuge with me. Every day he comes and works in the cafe. It's no longer the same person, not the same man. Of course, we're not through. We're not sure we're keeping him, but he's definitely in the right direction. And if we save one, it represents them all. That's what I try to do. No one's better than anyone else, but if we can be a lighthouse and show how to move forward among veterans, that will help everyone. And it takes people like you to back this up, to back us up. Thank you, Ms. Valdez. And Corporal Cyr, I think it will certainly help all of us to be able to stand up, take a deep breath. I will ask you to please stick to no more than 5 minutes.
8 o'clock, so we would like to be able to maximize the time that we have with you. So the meeting is suspended for 5 minutes. Meeting suspended.
return to our work. For the next 6 minutes, I invite the MP, Mr. Luc Desilets, MP for Rivière-des-Belles-Îles. You have the floor. Thank you, Chair. Good evening, colleagues, and good evening to our guests. Thank you so much. First, for your service. Second, for being here, for having accepted to share a good deal of pain, suffering. It's really, I would say, almost disturbing to hear all of this. I find you very courageous to share this. I'm not sure whether I would be as courageous as you are. My first question is for you, Ms. Cyr. You've been very humble as you present your organization. I've been there twice, a few times, and it's really quite extraordinary. It's unusual. It's more than a restaurant, more than a cafe. It's really a meeting place for veterans in the Quebec area. You're kind of doing, if not psychotherapy, a kind of zootherapy. It's highly calm there. It's quite fascinating, actually, the atmosphere at your cafe. And honestly, I think that Quebec and Canada would do well to have more places like that everywhere. My first question for you then, Ms. Cyr. You were in the Canadian Forces for 12 years. You were never deployed, never on mission. I imagine that that's what you were hoping for. What's your explanation of that fact? How do you explain it for 12 years? And do you associate it with anything specific? Only because, well, I was a woman, older than the average. I wasn't like a beauty, was I, that one wants to have along on a mission. Moreover, I had had a physical trauma, and when you're wounded, you have a physical trauma within the forces, you're just a nothing. And also, it's difficult to get help. We're told it's in your head, here's some Tylenol, make do with that. I was told, look, you see, you're going to stay here. You've got a lot of experience here with your unit in your section. This newcomer knows nothing, so, not much use to us here in the shop. We'll just send him up there on a mission. Perhaps he'll get a medal, and you can stay here 12, 13 hours a day, because, of course, we really need to pick up the slack. And nothing more than that. So what that leads to is a feeling of being kind of an imposter when you are released and you're a veteran, because in people's minds, a veteran is someone who's been overseas, who's been on the front. If that's not the case, you're not really a veteran in the view of some members of the Canadian Armed Forces. That's really fascinating. Sorry to interrupt you. Could you give a figure, a percentage of women in the Canadian Armed Forces who aren't sent out on mission? I would say more than 50% of women. Okay. You said something that really struck me. You had this doctor's evaluation, a civil doctor, a public doctor, and you brought this to the Canadian Armed Forces doctor, who would not recognize or pay adequate attention to what was on that sheet of paper. It's as though the armed forces is over and above the law or something. Yes, I know no organization in the province of Quebec that would turn down a medical diagnosis, a medical recommendation. This is really sad to hear. Many more questions for you. Have I time, Chair? Yes. Now, you refer to harassment that you had experienced within the Canadian Forces. Now, obviously, this would have something to do with the fact that you're a woman. Do men face such things? Yes, there are men who are harassed, and I was even harassed by women psychologically. At one point, there was a woman who was probably the most appreciated by the men because my unit's sergeant major had said that nothing had been said to him about my situation, but he knew very well because I'd told him directly, I've got to get out of here. My mental health is terrible. I'm ready to strangle someone. And he said, yeah, sure, I can just post you in Montreal. And I said, that's not what I want. I want to get out. And he said, no, I've never heard of your situation. I made an official complaint. Despite the official complaint, which I was given reason on, people believe me, that person never got any retribution, was never corrected. Unacceptable. And then when I was asked what happened to that person, Basically, I was assaulted and I was not allowed to hear what sanction my assailant had received, how they had been corrected or punished or anything. Now, you have had and now have a number of illnesses that haven't been recognized. What are they? Fibromyalgia, secondary to PTSD, intestinal issues when I'm stressed at all. I have problem retaining my urine, and I just manage it myself. So it's a malabsorption issue. And other veterans will maybe not talk about that because it's embarrassing, but we're here to speak the truth. My colleagues, my employees at the restaurant are used to this. They know that I'm often cleaning my underwear. At the first, they were shocked, and now they're, okay, all right, the toilet's there, it's for you. And you can see that my cafe is small, but I still have trouble making it to the toilet. This is a stress effect. Many people have this, and it can happen after post-traumatic stress disorder. You can read about it. Fibromyalgia as well was, in my case, it was recognized by a physiotherapist, but they don't want to accept this diagnosis. Well, it took 4 years for me to get help with housekeeping at my home, and that wasn't accepted earlier. And even an ergotherapist at back said, look, it's in your head. Stop complaining. Stop going on and on about your problems, and don't worry, you'll be able to do your own house cleaning. Thank you, Ms. Cyr. Thank you, Ms. Desilets.
And I'd like to invite the MP for North Island Powell River, Ms. Rachel Blaney, for 6 minutes, please.
Well, thank you, Chair. And I would like to just put on the record quickly that I know we will be called to a vote. My recommendation is that we agree to vote by app, take 5 minutes to do so, and then give these women the precious time they deserve. So I'll leave that to you, Chair. First of all, I want to thank the witnesses so much for your powerful testimony today and for your service. I also want to honor all the women that are right there in the room behind you. I just am really moved by how many people show up to stand with you and how important that these voices be heard. So thank you for testifying, and thank you to those who also showed up. I think the words and the behaviors that you have are symbols of the warriors that you are. So I just want to thank you for that, and thank you for being agents of change and for allowing us as members of Parliament to also be agents of change by advocating and amplifying your voice. So my first question is to retired Major Arkell. I understand that VAC denied you based on your genetic disability or your genetic condition on your disability claim. So I'm just wondering if you could talk a little bit about the fact that your physicians were very clear. They saw that your service aggravated the condition, and has VAC accepted that?
Thank you for the opportunity to speak about this. So I was, it was clear that the injuries were related to service. And I have awards for a couple of specific joints, but because as an overall, whole person, when I applied for the specific condition called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, despite there being record information clearly in my medical records, the Veterans Affairs medical officer that reviewed the file. I actually have a copy of it because I'm appealing it. So the BPA lawyer provided me with that to provide my civilian doctor. The Veterans Affairs medical officer zoomed in on the medically unexplained symptoms. So he went right to the, pulled out evidence of the mental health department saying that it was all in my head. A couple of physicians who said, yeah, you're flexible, but that's normal, that's nothing. You're just stressed and you need to get more sleep, or you need to manage your stress. So I'm in the process of appealing it, but because there's no guarantee it's going to be successful, my case manager advised me to apply for each individual affected joint. So I currently have an award for my left shoulder, my low back, and my bilateral hips. And I'm in the process of submitting, once I was denied the overall condition, I submitted additional applications for my neck, my right shoulder, bilateral wrists, bilateral thumbs, and bilateral ankles. And I was immediately sent a medical form for each individual joint. And I have to have a medical appointment with my family physician for each individual one, which I am extremely fortunate to have a family physician. And I'm extremely fortunate that she's willing to spend the time on that. But that takes away from treating my other conditions. That takes time in her schedule away from other patients. And it's ridiculous. My physiotherapist is actually doing the measurements for the range of motion and could easily fill out the forms, but it has to be a medical officer. Mm-hmm. So that's just, it's meaning that I can't apply for, I can't fill out the forms on my own. I need help to do that. And then I need help processing that. And it just, all my energy is going towards that. So I can't apply for other conditions. Like I have gastrointestinal issues. I have issues with my nervous system, autonomic system. I have a condition that as a result of all of this other stuff, I have a condition that resembles long COVID. And I had it before COVID happened, and it's debilitating. So,
Thank you. So I'm going to go to retired petty officer Nielsen next. So you're going to put your thing down. I can see you. So you have a wheelchair that was provided to you while you were still serving in the CAF. Recently, you needed a minor repair. And I'm just wondering if you will tell the committee what happened when you approached VAC and what you did to fix it.
So yeah, I was, I'll give it a little bit of background if that's okay. So I was competing and I had these injuries before and I was selected. I was competing in the Warrior Games in Tampa in 2019. I had an accident while I was there and I had neurogenic shock and I damaged my C2, 3 and 4, I believe. And it took a little bit for, initially the swelling went down and then long story. Anyways, so CAF had bought me a wheelchair to assist with functionality for me to go long distance and for pain. Once I retired, I needed a quick brake adjustment. It was going to be $50 per brake. I went to go to VAC to submit the claim, and they denied me and said two things. One, that it was a CAF problem, not a VAC problem. And according to them, there was no medical evidence that I needed the wheelchair, so therefore I didn't need it. I have a prescription from my nurse practitioner, although that's not for the same thing that I was prescribed, and CAF bought it for me. But the prescription from the nurse practitioner is not appropriate or good enough. They want it from a specialist, and you can't just willy-nilly get into a specialist these days. So I just pay for it on my own.
Thank you. And I understand that if you get a whole physical assessment, VAC will provide you with a brand new wheelchair over just paying the $50 to repair it. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. So there's different line items in that VAC will pay for. And basically, if you're given a mobility aid in the Canadian Armed Forces and CAF, it's expected that they'll cover it, but they won't. They'll only cover the items that they actually pay for. So instead of paying $100 for a couple of brakes to be adjusted and to repaired, they would go out and buy a $7,000 or $8,000 new wheelchair.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And now let's start the second round. And I'd like to invite MP from Yorktown Melville, Mrs. Kathy Wagenthal, for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you so much, Chair. And I just want to briefly mention my husband and I, when we were young, we went to a seminar on being good mates to each other and the differences between men and women. And one of these gentlemen was talking about women and how we're a fine china teacup. And my husband leaned over and he said, "You are the most beautiful Pyrex I have ever seen. You guys are amazing. You're all just amazing." So just wanted to say that. And, you know, I just want to ask Ms. Sue. Sue. Okay. We know about rape as a weapon in war. And it appalls me. But when I hear this was used as a weapon of war within my own country, within my own armed forces. When you say, and you were from 1975, I think we're similar vintage. I can state that overall the military forced into this change in the 70s did so begrudgingly and with an unwillingness to accommodate for the women, and that they maintained this posture for as long as they possibly could, and they proactively dismissed, mistreated, humiliated, and you've heard us, both policy and culturally based barriers set conditions for abuse, harassment, physical, mental, and sexual, and negated our voice. You are the first one of all of this testimony that has come out and said that so clearly, and I think you have the foundation and the experience and the grounds to speak to that.
I certainly do. I certainly do. I have seen it over and over again. I have seen on basic training, I have seen staff, warrant officers, sleeping with cadets and using it as a tool in order to get sex, in convincing a cadet that if they do this, then they'll pass basic training. This is basic officer training. This is in 1979. I have caught him. I have brought it to my senior leadership. And the young recruit was sent home, and the warrant officer was returned to me to work with me. And it goes on and on and on. I have seen it over and over again. This is sexual abuse was used as a way of almost controlling, in some cases, women.
Right.
I have spent a year at one time in my career as a commander, hiding from senior officers.
Okay.
I mean, literally.
I appreciate. Thank you so much for being so blatantly honest about that and the woundedness that exists because of it. I would like to ask Carly Arkell, you talk, at least I have this on your background, it says prior to joining the Survivor Perspectives Consulting Group, and they were one of our first witnesses. I was so impressed with their capabilities and their desire to see healing and improvement, but such a unique way of dealing with this issue within the armed forces, because you're dealing with higher, lower ranks, all of those issues. Can you just speak to that a little bit, your experience there and the value you see in it?
Thank you. I'd love to. So it was a group of us women who, just over 2 years ago, when there was a lot of news about more scandal about sexual misconduct in the military and affecting the most senior ranks, we were frustrated. We knew it didn't have to be this way. We knew that there could be more that could be done. Talked about weapons of war. It's fratricide, and it infects and affects everyone, and it makes the environment toxic. And the way we've treated, I joined in '98. I was sharp trained 3 times between my 2 different elements. I guess I needed it extra times. And I just learned jokes. Like it was a joke. It didn't go anywhere. But we, one of our founders, Donna, had developed a training program,
right.
Working with another one, civilian sexual assault. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit flustered here.
Okay.
Anyways, the training.
Take
and
your time.
She adapted it with their assistance and their permission, adapted it for a uniform environment. And it respects that. War. We are soldiers. We are using violence as our tool, but we're still people, and we need to take care of our people. And the training focuses on not belittling anyone, and not making people feel badly or like they have to be on edge or that they can't be themselves. It's about humanity. And we've had people who have gone into the training saying, really, really combative about being there, and then come out saying, it's the first time I haven't felt like I'm the bad guy. And we've had other people like, oh, wow, I didn't realize I was contributing to the problem. I didn't think it. Mm-hmm. And it's the impact's been profound. My involvement has been very limited due to my health, but we all as founders and many, many other survivors in the background working together are contributing where we can and how we can. And it's part of healing for us, but we want to make it a better place for our colleagues and for our children.
So do you sense, is there a desire to see this as one of the significant tools to combat military sexual trauma and come out of it better men and women within the armed forces and for the future of our young men and women that are going to serve?
I strongly believe that this is a powerful tool, and there's been some reluctance from the CAF because for various reasons, but we've had interest expressed to us by other foreign militaries, and the CAF won't take it. We'll go overseas.
All right. Thank you so much. Sorry, I'm out of time.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Morgenthau. And now for 5 minutes, I'd like to invite Mr. Rogers from Bonavista Brewing Trinity to speak. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, let me just say a big welcome to all of our guests. These events you talk about and the stories you tell are, very riveting, and we've heard from a lot of witnesses about some of the issues you raised there again this evening. So I'd like to hear from our online guests, P.O. Nelson, first of all. You mentioned several recommendations that you would have for the committee. I suggest that you would submit these to the clerk in writing. But there are one or two that you'd like to focus on. And I know we only have 5 minutes, so if I could ask each of you to give me your top recommendation, what would it be? So, P.O. Nielsen, maybe 1 minute if you could give us a couple examples. And give the others a minute each as well.
Absolutely, sir. I've actually already submitted my recommendations. I didn't quite get it fast enough for translation. There's actually two major ones that I would be the first one, and that is to remove bias, have bias training, and there's whether it's an unconscious or conscious bias, to help people to identify that there may be some that would be whether it's from a situation that you've been in or if it's a value that you've been brought up with, but to identify those in adjudicating certain claims. Additionally, that there needs to be what's the word? I forget my words. Forgive me. That if a member comes in with a pre-existing health condition, it's not always, and if they come in with an acute condition, it's not always mental health. So having that looked at appropriately, as well as the and I'll do one more and I'll stop. And is to lift the ban on non-service related illnesses and injuries which are not covered by BAC. Such as cancer, diabetes, genetic conditions such as hypermobility spectrum disorder, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. These injuries may not be caused by our service, but they're definitely exacerbated by our service. And a lot of times those injuries are non-existent until we are hurt. So for I myself, I'm awaiting genetic testing for Ehlers-Danlos syndrome as well. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much. I know the chair is watching our clock, so I'll start with Major Arkell, if you could.
Can I go last, just because I think
I
may
okay.
have... I want to...
Sorry.
I'll go.
Whatever order.
I'll go.
Clock is running.
I would say for the CF, I think they should document the conditions of service that women experienced in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. That includes equipment, that includes trauma, that includes all the activities that they know about. Lieutenant General Bourgon, when she testified, acknowledge these things. They need to document them, they need to pass them to Veterans Affairs, and Veterans Affairs needs to consider these as the documents of record so that women don't have to prove these things themselves. I think that's my number one recommendation on the CF side. On the VAC side is they need to look at the low-hanging fruit on those two bad things they have, the entitlement eligibility guidelines and the tables of disability. They should focus in on the cumulative joint trauma guidelines. It's a low-hanging fruit. If they started to deal with that one and identified those things that affect women in terms of their joints, there'd be a lot more claims coming in by women who have nothing on their files. There you go. There's my top two.
You want to go?
Excuse me, Mr. Rogers, could you please stop playing with the earphone, please?
Sorry.
Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've got two recommendations as follows. When someone files a complaint about sexual assault or psychological assault, there's got to be follow-up. There's got to be follow-up with sanctions. And the person who has been assaulted needs to know what has been done about the situation, because otherwise other people won't come forward. It's a demanding process to file the complaint. I'm sorry to interrupt, because the House bells are ringing.
In about 30 minutes. So I have, first of all, Mr. Tolmi and Monsieur Desilets would like to intervene. Mr. Tolmi.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We will be here we'll allow for another 15 minutes to respect the witnesses that we have here, but we need to be in the House, and so we will go for another 15 minutes, if you don't mind, sir.
Okay, thank you. Monsieur Desilets, à vous la parole.
You have the floor again, Mr. Desilets. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I've got something different to say. We have 5 witnesses here, and we would be able to vote if we had 5 minutes before the very end of the vote. That's all we need of the voting period. So I certainly hope that, to show the due respect to our witnesses, we will remain here in the committee room for as long as possible.
Sure.
Anyone else wishing to take the floor? I need unanimous consent. Ms. Wagenthal?
J'ai besoin du conseil.
So I need consent. We do have a motion to the effect of continuing to work for 50 minutes.
Before vote, qu'est-ce que le comité entend?
What is the will of the committee? 15 minutes or 5? Mr. Sanson? We're ready to say until, the last 5 minutes, as Mr. Desilets has moved and proposed. Mr. Tolmi.
We're only here for 15 minutes, sir. And that's no disrespect to those that have come tonight. As I started off in the questioning, we recognize that the testimonies are very important to us. But unfortunately, we have some procedures that we need to follow, and we are required in the House.
Madame Wagenthal?
Ms. Wagenthal.
I just want to say the same, as we strongly value everything you have to offer in your testimony. Thank you. And I hope to speak to each of you again as well. We have a scenario here where our values are being challenged, and you know how important it is that you take that stand when you need to, and it's important that we be in the House for this vote. I apologize.
Okay, thank you. So do I have unanimous consent to go for 15 minutes? Great. So we will stop at 8:25. And right now, we only have 2 minutes left in your question, Mr. Rogers. Okay, please go ahead. Sorry.
Yes.
As far as Veterans Affairs, I'd like to see more access to programs that encourage both mental health and physical activity. For an example, there are a lot of equestrian programs out there for veterans to spend time with horses, and but a lot of those programs, you can't ride the horses. veterans, we want to not just pet the horses, we want to ride the horses. We want to have the physical activity because it's the movement and it's the physical activity that helps me the most.
Very quickly, I have two. One is for Veterans Affairs specifically. It's to review the table of benefits, updating it to represent cover the modern veteran. It's not World War II men from World War II. It's gender, types of injuries, types of cumulative trauma. The second one is actually less of a recommendation, but it's also a challenge to all members of the committee, to all members of Parliament, to take back to your caucus members that all legislation, all policies that comes across as proposals or drafts or reviews, to consider the impact on veterans, to consider the impact on veterans' families, the opportunities for to help us, and the negative impacts on us too.
Thank you very much. Et là, pour une intervention de 2.
Now for a 2.5 minute time on the floor, Mr. Luc Désilets. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Madam Chair, you mentioned earlier a $27,000 that is being claimed of you as a kind of an overpayment. Were you told at any point what to do? No. What I learned was, when I said that I had this business to help me stay afloat and to help other veterans, they asked me to send in my income tax statement. When I did so, we were losing money, but by their calculation, this was still income. So they claimed that I and the friend who helped me launch this restaurant, Manon Gauchat, which actually means the cat got my tongue, cafe, $26,000, and my friend some thousand. So my friend eventually gave up and left the business because they really were unable to handle this request and the sort of harassment from Manulife, this harassment when you're really trying to help and remain present in life. So that's when I learned that VAC was not giving me my 15% of extra salary, supplementary salary. And because of that, I wasn't able to ask VAC to reimburse me. I called the Ombudsman. It still isn't settled because I'm told, well, you didn't make the requests in time. So your cafe is not generating any income. You're even losing money on it. And you're offering the service that we've described earlier. And you're still have this $27,000 claim against you. Have you been supported at all? Certainly not by the Canadian Forces, not by VAC either. No help. And now it's with the Ombudsman. Correct. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Désilets.
Ms. Rachel Bliney for 2.5 minutes, please.
Well, thank you, Chair. So I would like to ask a question of retired leading seaman Schultz Nielsen. I'm wondering, based on your testimony, if you can explain the difference between your PTSD and the major depressive disorder.
Thank you, Chair. I started getting treatment for PTSD in 2014 after a diagnosis from a civilian psychologist. PTSD for me is manageable. I'm able to, with the treatment that I've received over the years, I'm able to manage my symptoms. To be perfectly honest and clear, depression is a killer. I have yet to find a treatment that works for it, and it eats you alive like a cancer. Thank you.
And thank you for that. And could you explain, the difference between the causes? So PTSD and the cause, and then the major depressive disorder. What do you think is the cause of the major depressive disorder?
My PTSD has been linked to my military service and assaults that I've experienced. My major depressive disorder came on after I was denied DEC by VAC. It's 100%, as far as I'm concerned, it's caused by VAC. The denials, the jumping through hoops to be treated with just a little bit of dignity. It wears you down, and you can't fix it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. If I could just ask retired Captain Sue very quickly, you talked about changing the adjudication process of disability claims in the context of the needs of all women veterans. I'm just wondering if you could explain what you think that would look like. I think it's a fantastic idea.
Well, I fundamentally believe that women are being expected to put in claims and provide the conditions of service with proof. And the bottom line is they don't have any proof. They don't, but D&D does know, or the Canadian Forces does know how these women were treated over the years. And I think they owe an obligation to the women veterans in that they didn't do anything for them when they were serving. They hurt them when they were serving. So they have an obligation now to identify just what they did. They know. It's not like they don't. And if they don't, there are stakeholder women like myself across the veteran community who'd be happy to come in and tell them. We are there, we know, we are dealing with veterans all the time, and we'd be happy to explain. If they provided that, it just means that the veteran herself doesn't have to document it when she has no documentation. This is ridiculous. And if they're going to do it with MST, they've acknowledged with MST that women's voices matter and that women's stories matter. So if we know that already, that precedence has been set. That has already been done. This would light years, move things ahead light years if we just did this one thing, if the Canadian Forces stepped up and said what they did to women. They know the equipment issues. In my opinion, it's low-hanging fruit. It's something they can do, and it was something that will make a huge difference to women veterans.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Sue. And the two last interventions for 3 minutes each. And I'd like to invite Mrs. Wagenthal for 3 minutes. You didn't expect, but I have your name on my list. At least so you have 3 minutes.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much. Chair. I'd like to just ask very briefly, Ms. Sue, you talked about successfully redress the maternity leave policy.
Yes.
Can you just embellish that a little bit?
Oh, it's a sad tale. It's 1986. First of all, at that time, if you took any maternity benefits whatsoever, you were considered to be on leave without pay, and it affected your pension. And I fundamentally believe, first of all, that my pensionable service should not be impacted by the fact I'm having a baby. So I put a redress of grievance in. I didn't grieve the fact that I only got 17 weeks of leave without pay so that I could move on to UI. I guess it would be UIC then, right? When the clerk beside me, my secretary, got 93 weeks of paid leave, by the way, at that time. Wow. However, I did just grieve that position to make sure, and they approved. I had to appeal it 3 times during the course of my pregnancy, and they approved it the day after my son was born and made sure it wasn't retroactive.
There you go.
Just so we're clear here.
Thank you.
I approved it the day after and made sure it wasn't retroactive. That's what I'm talking about, spiteful policies.
Right. Thank you. I believe it was you, Ms. Nielsen, that said my mental health has hindered my ability to apply for benefits. Just talking about what you were just talking about with sanctuary trauma, that really so much of this, and I hear that a lot from all veterans that are suffering significantly, that what is destroying them is the fact that they feel so undervalued by Veterans Affairs. Is that a fair statement to what you were saying in regards to the depression side?
Yes. In 2015, I actually applied for sanctuary trauma through Veterans Affairs. My claim was suspended, which means that there's no recourse. You can't appeal it. It's done. But yes, sanctuary trauma is exactly what we're all experiencing through our dealings with Veterans Affairs.
Okay. I forget names here. Ms. Nielsen, would you like to comment on that at all, as far as your relationship with VAC and and how that's impacted your health. Nielsen?
Oh, sorry.
No, that's fine. Did you hear my question?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, I think.
It's all good. So did you have anything you wanted to say to that as far as the impact of the constant struggle, I guess, in regard to dealing with VAC and that impact on your overall health?
Yes, your mic, please, if you want to respond.
Yes, ma'am. Dealing with Veterans Affairs, for me, I deal with, when I have to deal with Veterans Affairs, I shut down for about 3 or 4 weeks after I deal with them. I start shaking. I see an email in my, I've got an email in my bank account, and I just shut down. I just recently got for a reassessment for my cervical spine, and I've got, in total, probably 14 pages of paperwork to do. And actually, I just got a call before my physiatrist before we started this, and he doesn't want to do paperwork because he doesn't want to deal with Veterans Affairs people. So
thank you.
That's how.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
The last intervention, you have 3 minutes, Mr. Shane Casey, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you to all of our witnesses for your very powerful and courageous testimony. I'm going to single out, just for a comment, Ms. Schultz-Nielsen, and then I'm going to come to you, Captain Sue. Ms. Schultz-Nielsen, before getting into politics, I practiced law for 17 years as a litigator, and I see that you were a representative plaintiff on the class action suit, a $900 million settlement. And I don't have a specific question for you, but I just want you to say that, I just want you to know that I read through the statement of claim, and the leadership and courage that it would take to be a representative plaintiff and to have all those things in print for all the world to see is quite remarkable. You have done a tremendous, tremendous service. Captain Sue, you were very blunt, direct, precise, and explicit when you were asked what recommendation we should give in our report. You can be pretty darn sure it's going to end up there. But in your, I see in your background that you are the co-chair of the Minister of Veterans Affairs Policy Advisory Group.
No, that's the baby sister in the back of the room, sir.
Your baby sister.
My baby sister in the back of the room, sir. How's that?
Okay, well,
there you go.
Yeah, that kind of takes away that question.
We've been very careful about that, sir.
Do you think you could have a word with your baby sister,
yes, sir.
with respect to that advice to make sure that it gets through to that committee? Having it in the report is one thing, but having it discussed at a committee with that sort of leadership will be extremely valuable.
Okay, sir.
How much time am I at? I have 1 minute. Okay. There have been a couple of references today to case managers. Ms. Arkell, you mentioned that I think that your case manager referred you to OSI. If you could comment generally on your experience with case managers within Veterans Affairs, I think that would be helpful.
So I feel like I'm a unique case because I have an amazing one. I keep telling her she needs to be cloned. She is fantastic. She is the reason why I don't have panic attacks when I get messages from my VAC. Even when I'm struggling, I still freeze. I'm very close friends with Lisa, and can't tell you how many times I've answered text calls, messages. We have a pact between the two of us to reach out to each other. And I can't begin to describe what I've watched her go through, and mine is a polar opposite. We need more case managers with good training, who want to be there and aren't using it as a stepping stone to get into the public service, ones who understand trauma-informed care and are dedicated to us. My case manager's limitations are the policy. The policy is tying her hands, but she will fight damn hard for me, and everyone deserves that.
Merci.
I'm pleased to tell you that your experience isn't unique. It isn't universal, but it isn't unique, and thank you for sharing it with us.
Merci,
Thank you,
Monsieur
Chair.
Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Casey. Thank you very much.
A lot to say, but I'm sorry we have to stop right here. It was a lot of wonderful testimony, and I'd like to, on behalf of the committee and myself, to say thank you to all of you. I know that it's not over. You still have to struggle with some problems, so courage, beaucoup de courage.
Courage. We wish you courage. For the members of this committee, I wish to thank the 5 witnesses we have had with us as individuals. Retired Major Carly Arkell, retired Petty Officer Second Class Lisa Nielsen by video conference, retired Leading Seaman Nadine Schultz Nielsen, retired Captain Louise Sue, and retired corporal and owner of my Longo Chat Cafe, the cat got my tongue cafe, Lisa Sear. I would also like to thank our interpreters, the technical team who have made it possible to hear you. The committee is adjourned.